From a workshop in Bordeaux to Ultimate Fields worldwide, Force Ultimate creates custom gear with care. Locally made, low impact, built to perform. No outsourcing, no shortcuts, every piece crafted in-house by skilled artisans. Built to withstand every dive and sprint, this gear is as tough as your game. Your sport, your team, your Force. Why choose Force? Exceptional quality, eco-friendly production, and every kit is designed with your team's identity in mind. Force Ultimate, built to perform, made to last. Gear up now at forceultimate.com.
Welcome to EYUC 2025, and we have a stormer of a game coming into the Open Division. It's Great Britain versus Belgium, a rematch. These two teams last met each other, of course, on the world stage back in Birmingham 2024 for the 7th spot at that tournament. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, alongside Benji Rees. Benji, what are you expecting from these two?
I am very excited because I think this is going to be a bumper matchup. Two teams that are going to go at it hammer and tongs. Had good form so far in the tournament. GB won their first 4 games. They had a tight victory over Sweden to begin. Followed that up with big victories over Austria, Finland and Lithuania, but had suffered their first defeat yesterday afternoon. They went down 15-9 to Italy. For the Belgians, their record is unblemished. Big wins over Austria and Lithuania. A tighter one over Sweden. They beat the Italians on Universe yesterday morning, 11-10, a low scoring and fair, and then polished off Finland 15-5 yesterday afternoon. So the Belgians have the inside track to the top of the pool. A win here would completely seal that. Even with a loss, they could still come top on a 3-way tie. But of course, you know the mentality that these teams have. You never think about, well, we don't technically need to win. As far as you're concerned, we're going to go out there and win every game.
Well, these two programs have been building strength across the years. Of course, we have the full stats from many of these championships. But to go back in time just to pan over just 2 years ago in 2023, there are 6 athletes common to this Belgian roster, but a bigger chunk for GB. They had a couple of players added, but 11 on all 3 squads, and a couple of them still eligible for the next World Championships, which will be coming up next year. So really impressive to see. Of course, on the Belgian side of things, you have to watch out for the kind of number 3 coming at you.
Yeah, he looks more like Lander, but he plays more like Toby of a couple of years ago. Staff, I think. Slightly taller in stature, I think facially as well, quite similar to Lander. Got the same haircut, but expect him. He will be threatening with the disc in hand, but he will really churn out those deep strikes, and if you're not conscious, he will roast you in that deep space time and time again.
And another household name coming out on the UK side of things, of course, Sam Hill, actually playing with the offhand, having had an injury at the U24 Championships, so not quite up the stats board. That accolade goes to Robert Pantling, one of 2 Pantling twins.
Yeah, the other Rupert, also on the roster. You may recognise the surname because Persephone has played for GB junior sides in the past.
Indeed. Well, it is Belgium to start with the advantage on offense. Panamans in that 84, quickly moving it backwards. This is good connectivity, but not making too much in terms of yardage. Van Coily sends that through. Now it's Andréan. A little stoppage for a call.
Those of you who've been around European Ultimate might recognise the Van Quali surname. A Dad Yeller, familiar face on the Belgian side for many years with that great big bushy beard. I've seen him in attendance here this week as part of the enormous Belgian cheering section, which you love to see.
They always attend. I think they brought more supporters than they have athletes. That one well supported, though, by Panamans. Not sure it was for him, but he will send it into the goal. And that is a nice, mature offensive hold for the Belgians.
Yeah, Staff de Clowner wasn't actually on to start the point, but there was an injury sub. They brought him in, and it's not a bad replacement to have. We mentioned his scoring prowess, and he has proved it there. One of a couple of this roster who have experience at the U24 level that captured the silver medals out in the hot Spanish sun just last month. I think Panamans was on that side as well. And, you know, weren't necessarily playing outsized roles on that squad, of course, but still getting that important experience, helping the team through a tough week out there on the artificial track in Logroño, but we've got natural lush grass here in Trnava. And honestly, I think this might be ideal playing conditions. You know, it's sunny, but it's not too warm. Maybe a slight breath of wind, nothing to overly concern you, but, you know, really got to make sure that you execute on the throws. And, yeah, with a lively crowd, I think this is going to be a fun matchup.
Well, Delanotte, one of two, looking to get the next point underway with the pole. Nice big spin, almost like a hammer throw. And our first look at Great Britain's offense. So quick up line movement. Tensing back. Kelsey Stollen of Reading in that number 17.
Yeah, still got another year of eligibility, I believe, and he is absolute dynamite.
Flirting with the overhead fakes, looking for quick scramble movement. Ollie East loses his feet, but immediately pops up, acrobatic style. Now it's Freddie Ford. It's Belgium zones really just pushing GB towards their own end zone. Great containment, but of course it is ripe conditions to throw overheads, as we saw in the previous round on our showcase field. That women's division, the Czech Republic, breaking zones with hammers, scubas alike. Well, in their own territory, it's Bain that finds Pantling.
Well, you mentioned it was on.
It's always on. Nice one-up line for Angus Bain. And that's going to be out of bounds, unfortunately. It looked pretty on that back foot, but the right hit the ground before possession was given for Freddie Ford. So the first opportunity for a break in this game. Belgium as yet undefeated, showing us exactly why this is really nice movement. Morlian with the ski shades. Back to Delanotte. Oh, and it's a swing and a miss, but it's redeemed behind him. William Dumont with the backup, and that's a break for the Belgians.
Staf de Klana was the initial target, but it snuck through his grasp. And as you mentioned, Dumont was on hand to make sure they could apply the finish. I thought GB played against that zone really well. They were going backwards, but they weren't getting flustered by it. They found the little hammer over the top that really began to uncrack things. And all of a sudden there was space to work with, but just a little too tight to the sideline on the far side. Ford wasn't able to tow it in bounds. And there, with their first opportunity at the break, the Belgians punish them and they begin to get this break train rolling nice and early. You mentioned, obviously, Sam Hill having to play with the offhand. Ben Askam's wearing a sling on the sideline as well. And I think something we've mentioned with the Belgians is that not just De Klana, but there's a lot of siblings in Belgian Ultimate that are kind of at the upper echelon of not just the European but the world game at the moment. And you look at the GB roster and you think, well, actually, hang on a minute, there's a few Ultimate siblings coming through here as well. I mentioned Sam Hill, obviously sister Emily and dad Sai. Askham and his sister have been so impressive at the junior levels. The Pantlings as well coming through. Yes, that is another East as well, Ollie. Definitely looks more akin to Josh than Tyler, I think. So he's smaller in stature, a little bit stockier, but yeah, he will be a threat with and without the disc. Ball lands comfortably out of bounds, so GB will get it at the brick mark.
Well, family affairs on both sides. A slightly smaller contingent cheering on the lads, of course. GB women not having the best tournament of their own, but plenty of them on the sidelines as well to support the lads as they did yesterday. Of course, no one still quite reached the sideline vibes of the Czech Open side with their rattles.
The Belgian drum feels an ever present at these international events now.
Indeed.
Can't imagine trying to get that through airport security.
Well, they don't have to. I think they did drive it across as GB now starting to drive down pitch. Ben Hudson, another Ultimate sibling, I'm sure. Hannah playing for the girls team here. Hill, back to Hudson.
His right hand looks all right to me.
Maybe he was just teasing with us, saying that he was playing with the offhand. That's a nice one into space, and that is a good find. Ben Hudson for the goal.
Yeah, that was lovely flowing offense from GB. The zone worked first time round from Belgium, but that time it didn't feel like GB were really struggling to solve it necessarily. You know, they did make an error, but they didn't feel too uncomfortable. But this is a lovely leading pass. It's I mean, something that you don't necessarily always associate with juniors, the dad/barbecue backhand leading towards the forehand side, but just sitting it out into space and caught on the run there by Ben Hudson for the score. GB on the board, and it's very important in games where you expect it to be tight that against the top quality of opposition you do get on the board early, because I feel like Belgium does have the quality to really run away at the start, and if they do, it feels like it's game over before it's almost begun. So for GB, they'll gain a lot of confidence from getting on the board early.
Well, of course, we are still in the pool stages for our open division. Of course, this pool A, 1 of 2. Just wrapping us up here. And at the moment, it's all to play for. Of course, crossovers. We've got 14 teams total in our open division, which is double some of the others. Stall count starting to rise. Nice, intense defensive pressure from the British lads.
Bit of a wind beginning to kick up.
Well, we've talked about the talent of both these teams. Of course, the UK club scene has many windy venues.
Are you sure about that? I can't think of any in particular. Certainly not the wind farm.
But that's a great bit of defense being played. Pantling with the interruption, looks like. Of course, being a 49, not a 59 shirt, that will be
That's Robert. Yep, rather than Rupert. But they've both got that big, long frame, and they used it well there.
Well, nice connectivity. Gill, the around break to Kelsey Stollem. Smooth moves. And just slipped out of the hand, but I think a little bit of contact on the way down, so that will go back into the hands of James Gill.
Yeah, the wind's in a different direction to yesterday, so that is the downwind end zone GB are attacking at the moment, although it's nowhere near as strong.
Now, Martin. Again, that soft backhand dish, and it's a fire into the end zone. GB level it back up.
Yeah, big from GB, getting the break back at the first time of asking. As soon as you get the first goal in, it does settle your nerves. Rowan Tigg on the end of it, just 16. Not a problem, though. Love seeing that there's, you know, it's not always players who are at the top end of the eligibility necessarily. Players who've still got a few years left to go. It's important to get them reps to build for the future. And look, if you're good enough, then you're old enough, as they say. The way the pools work, 2 pools of 7. The top side in each pool gets a bye into the semi-finals, and the second place in one pool plays the third place in the other. GB, Belgium, Italy are the 3 sides who will go through. The order, that depends on the results of this game and of Italy's ongoing matchup at the moment. They're 3-0 up on the Austrians. In Pool B, it's France, who look like they are going to come home with the top spot. It depends on the outcome of their game against Czechia. France are up 3-1. Switzerland are the other team in the mix there.
Well, the sideline trying to get the vibes going for Great Britain. They've managed to do enough to balance this game back. Of course, they took that first point, did the Belgians, so GB will need an extra bit of magic to take the first victory against the Belgian side. They did it last season, and that one just slips out of the hands of Wolf Pannemans. I show you, no, that's not Wolf, that's Pierre-Jan de Vos, the 64.
Yeah, the throw from Peter Kenner was a little bit too angled, and when he released it, he knew it was going to require the most immaculate toe-in. Pierre-Jan de Vos couldn't quite manage it.
So Hudson setting the sights, has Pantling on the underneath. like Alan, just chooses Hudson instead. Now it's Rowan Smith. Oh, that's way too low. No, that is not too low. That is a clap-catchable layout for Ben Allen.
You must be joking. How on earth did he get that?
Woodward now into Hill. A little slip on the turf here. Ben Allen just prefers to be horizontal, it seems. Hill now runs that one down and immediately shoots to the soft side of the field, and Ben Hudson for the goal.
I don't think that the initial swing came out exactly as they wanted. Maybe there was a little bit of miscommunication about who precisely was going to get on the end of it. But if you're gonna overthrow it, underthrow it, they got it the right way round because they put a bit of air underneath it, and so it means you've got a chance to chase it down. But as well, it's leading it more to the break side, so when Hill catches it in space, he can just fire to the far side of the end zone. That's 3 on the spin now for the Brits, who have got a bit of, I don't want to say arrogance necessarily, but they've got that belief that is so important.
Well, the fans from Belgium will have something to say, of course. Daddy de Trnava there in the centre of your screen with the drum.
Ah, that's who's the drummer in chief. I will say as well that it feels like every time I've nipped back to the hotel in between games, there's a good throng of Belgian parents enjoying everything that Trnava has to offer. I must say, I've been very taken with Trnava as a city. It's a beautiful town. It's a lovely square, some glorious old architecture, and lovely people. I think the venue as well here for the tournament, the grass is really good and natural as well, and the fact that it's driving distance for a lot of Central Eastern European countries as well. The costs are cheaper. I think it's been a wonderful host.
Oh, and we still have 2 days yet to come, of course.
Oh, yes.
Just Thursday here before we get to the real business end of the bracket play. The Slovak, that one's rails high but well held by Morleon. GB just poaching off that centre pocket. De Force not being required to work too hard. Belgians making the disc do that instead. And again, De Force underneath then sends an absolute scintillator into the end zone. Artur de Slova with the goal.
Fair play De Force. I thought he might have been forcing that one, but it was beautifully executed, dropping the body weight, getting low underneath the mark. And sometimes when you do that, you put a little bit too much bounce, too much tilt, and show the outside edge. You bounce it, catch it, the wind, and you create a sky ball. But no, it's a lovely flat release, but not too zipped. Just measured into the end zone. And they knew it was money to Slova even before he made the catch. They've even got some sort of, I'm going to say trumpet, I can't see it. Oh no, it is. They've actually got someone with a trumpet. Fair play. I thought about doing that once and then I decided I didn't want to lug it all the way across London. So to bring it to Slovakia, fair play. You can't hate it.
I didn't know you played the trumpet, Benji.
For many years, yes. Is the trumpet a great instrument for someone with curvature of the spine? Maybe not.
Well, either way, it's been really fun to have the trumpet on the sideline, giving us even the IPL vibes.
It's honestly, I think, everyone would agree, Ultimate's so much better when you've got a crowd, and the fact that both teams have brought good cheering sections is massive. You get that lovely back and forth, the dueling chants, and it gives both sides that extra boost and energy and gives them playing with a little bit more swagger.
Well, it's not just Ultimate, it's any live sport is better when you're in the stands getting that extra bit of action. This is really solid flow from Great Britain. Gill now, as things slow down, picks the option. Big break to Ballon, and then into the end zone, hitting that break side and continuation for Rowan Smith.
Must say, I've been very impressed with GB's offense. Obviously stuck a little bit on that first offensive point. Couldn't tow it in on the sideline and gave up the break. But since then, full credit, they've really put it together. I think in GB cycles in the past, everything felt very structured. I think almost too structured at times. It felt like you were being coached to run the system, and when that was stopped, you didn't have the problem solving, the ability to kind of play a more natural game. But it feels quite organic what GB are doing here. That, yes, there's the understanding of how we're supposed to move, what our options are going to be. But everything seems so nicely, smoothly strung together that it feels like a more natural game. And I think it's a tricky balance to try and find, especially when you're coaching at the junior level, where you're not just coaching systems, but you are coaching skills to an extent as well, and you're trying to mature players because these are just teenagers, and you've got a lot of growing to do, both physically and emotionally, I think, and it's a tough ask, and I give full credit to any coach who's willing to take that on. Great pull. Yeah,
very much so. Full distance, but good fielding means they get out of danger quite quickly. To force the inside break. Quickly followed up. To Slova. Back to Vanquili. A little bit of disconnection, Stack quite far away. They churn underneath for Peterkena. DeVos sits down. That one's got a little bit of tilt on it. No opportunity for redemption because they run out of tape. Great defense by Charlie Pick.
We mentioned it on the last Belgian possession that when you drop your body weight like that, it's easy to tilt the front edge of the disc up too much, and that's what happens if you do. The wind picks it up and blows it out of that sideline. GB with another break chance.
Marcus Kelsey-Stollen to pick up. That one has plenty of air under it itself, and it's a one sky battle from Vantuna. So big opportunity squandered for GB to really push the charge forward. But an offhand, nice resetting there. Showing us all the skills. Dumont. Now De Slova. Artur connecting with the force. Just sits it up on a rope. Andrea into the end zone. Oh, just pops off the fingertips, nearly with the scramble, but it's just not quite enough.
Yeah, when sides have turned it over and got it back, they've put it in. They've not really seen the side turn it over on multiple possessions on the same point until then. GB doing a very good job containing at the front of that defense, just sagging a little bit, threatening to roll those switches, but just preventing the quick movement. They went wide, but couldn't quite fizz it in there. I think the wind is not strong necessarily, but it's slightly gusty, and that is causing problems that you can't get the consistent measure of it.
A little bit of double cutting and hanging out in the front pocket. In comes Dumartin just to try and clear things through. Again, you can really see GB setting up very deep to try and gain as many yards as possible on their undercuts. Gill well covered, then turns back. Through and across, but just had too much spice on it. Cohen Dumartin can't hang on.
Great work downfield by the Belgian defenders. They weren't letting GB have easy yard gaining passes. If they wanted to get that vertical field position, they had to take on the inside breaks, and that one was fizzed with a little bit too much fire.
DeForce quickly over the tape. It goes into the hands of Kaimas.
Yeah, Belgium needed a few opportunities, but they do eventually get it done. Credit their O-line for playing really tough defense after the turn. GB never really got out of the shadow of their own end zone on that occasion. I think if you're at the head of this defense for GB, still got to view it as a win. Yes, eventually you gave up the score, but against good sides, they are gonna be able to score at points. You're not going to have it all your own way, but you're thinking, we generated a couple of opportunities with it. If we keep doing that, we'll find a way to cash some of those in. Certainly, it feels like after that early break, GB's D-line has been a bit more threatening than Belgium's, but I mean, we know this is a Belgian side that is packed full of big plays.
Well, the problem is, Benji, you can create as many opportunities as you like, but if you can't convert them, then it is all for naught.
Of course, GB have the advantage. They've got that one break up on Belgium. They'd love to carry it into half, although we're only halfway through the first period here, and maybe get the opportunity for the mini break coming out of the interval. A lot of games still to be played before that, though. Good pull. Been impressed with the pulling All across the tournament, actually.
Yeah, and both these teams so far in this matchup. Hill staring downfield, and we see a re-emergence of some poaching to try and sag around the disc. Call on the mark. There's a little bit of elbowing from Sutherland. Kind of, you know, use your words, not your arms.
Petit is the player on the mark.
So back in action. Just has to take the negative for Ben Allen. Nicely pinned. Now they find their way through. So it's almost like he's going to wind up to his Hill, but they just keep moving laterally. But that's the trap that set a great layout block for Dumont.
I think a lot of the times you want to move the disc quickly against zones, and sometimes just the power of a little pump fake, you get defenders biting and you open yourself up more space. Belgium to get us back on serve.
Delanotte. Nice and patient. Feisty fakes. Now Staff de Khan. Makes it a challenge for Delanotte, but hangs on. But an injury call.
Also, I think he lost it on the landing and then had to come up and take the injury. Teased, I thought Rowan Smith was going to bid, but I guess he decided he wasn't perhaps in the position. Maybe he thought he was going to create contact if he did and decided just to shelve it, in which case I think that's very important. And it was, in fact, a catch. Yeah, just put it down because of the injury. So it will stay in Belgium hands here with Pierre-Yann Deforce, who's not a bad player to have crossing over, so you can power the offense after the turn here.
Not Smith on the mark to try and deny it. Deforce through to Khan. But then right back. Looks for the quick scoop. GB doing a great job of just sitting on those back shoulders, looking very threatening. Oh, that's got way too much loft on it. The breeze at his back. And the injury substitution throws it away.
On a still day, that throw is fine, but again, the wind's going to catch you off guard a little bit.
Allen, far side, through to Pantling. Nicely across to Smith. And just the trot from Sam Hill. Like he's on a wide open plane. But GB making their lives a little difficult here, closing in as the defense, but that's a great shot for the goal.
A little bit of creativity when you're in the red zone, when space is at a premium. Sometimes you have to get a little bit exuberant, I think, with what you do, because the windows close so quickly because they're so much smaller. Everything is so much more compressed. Did a good job there of finding an opportunity to squeeze it into the end zone. See Sam Hills, one of the GB captains who is having a chat with Petit, was involved in the discussion earlier about a potential bump on the mark. There was the layout block that got the disc for the Belgians, but looking for the swing, they were unable to complete and turned it back, and then at the second time of asking, GB able to squeeze it through down the line just before the bidding defender can come across.
Yeah, nice mental fortitude zone there from Smith. Not easy to make those clutch grabs when you are just hearing that sound, the swish of the defense behind you. But I think GB could have held a little bit more lateral structure in that red zone moment, but it worked. So
yeah, I would have liked to have seen them getting it off the line a little bit earlier to give themselves more room to work with, but they made it stick. The disc bounces out the back of the end zone. I don't think the Belgians touched it before it did so, so they will get the chance to walk it to the front, but GB can get their defense ready and waiting for the Belgians. Ollie East on the mark.
Well, quick lateral movement. And looks like we're seeing a GB zone here, Benji.
Yeah, I think if you want to be a medal contender at this tournament, you have to have a variety of defenses available to you.
Well, I say that, and then it just melts immediately into match. Again, just really clustering up the space. Both teams just trying to apply pressure by not stepping too close necessarily on the force, but giving them space away. But that is a space invader. Pantling a little bit late to the party, and there is the opportunity for the second jump for Han Pisano.
Pierre-Jan de Force absolutely gunning it deep. There's a big sky battle down in the Belgian end zone, and Pantling, who maybe has the reach advantage, was sitting slightly underneath, so has to go up a bit earlier than I'm sure he would have liked. Throw relatively flat, slight inside-out shape, but Pantling, when he went up and didn't get it, Pisano, I don't think, fully committed to going up, and that meant he had time to adjust and collect it on the second effort.
Well, obviously, respect the efforts to avoid contact from Robert Pantling there, but you can see on the replay he's trying to scoop it. He's trying to just snag the bottom edge and bring it back down to earth, whereas maybe if there's an opportunity to take a slightly more aggressive line, still avoiding contact and go for more of a grab, who knows? But either way, great presence from Han Pisano, the 17-year-old Ghent lad, getting it done for the Belgians.
So the other open games going on at the moment, elsewhere in this pool, Italy have already taken half on Austria 8-1. Sweden have an 8-4 halftime lead over Finland. In Pool B, it's Germany 4, Switzerland 4, and France 5, Czechia 3.
Offside call from Great Britain, saying the Belgians weren't all behind the line well enough. So they'll get a freebie brick. Nice to see that change in the rules rather than get repulls, keeping the game moving.
Yeah, there's no leniency anymore. You used to get one warning essentially, but now if you get it wrong, it's the immediate brick.
Sutherland with a spicy break around the mark. And this is finally a proper bit more zone. Trying to keep it moving is Daniel Sutherland in that 42 shirt. Just constantly coming in and crashing the cup. Finds that one, but it's going to be a big bid required. And the turnover, the spoil. Siddons unable to make the catch.
Trying to spread it out across the far sideline where there was lots of space, but it wouldn't sit up for long enough.
And now just keeping things simple. Oh, Belgium, well, I say simple. That was a brilliant catch from Dumont on a very low disc indeed. Morlian will follow the pass through and centre the stack now. It's De Kran's turn. Just running and gunning. Delanotte with the inside. Scoops up a little bit. Delanotte. Lots of zest. Oh, and that is just too easy in the end. The hard work unlocks the door. Wide open for Kaimas.
Yeah, Belgians, their second break of the game brings us back on serve now. Both of these sides so evenly matched, it feels. And you do get the feeling there'll be just the odd break here or there that is the deciding factor in this contest. GB haven't turned it over much on offense, but when they have, it's been ruthless from the Belgians. And that's the ability and the quality that you need if you are to win the tight contest. You've got to make the most of the chances you create.
Well, 1/3 of the way through this matchup, 90-minute time slots here on the fields in Trnava for our games to 15. Another look at that swing to danger. It's one of the things of when you're really going for those small ball, high energy passes, you just have to make sure you're keeping the energy inside the bottle, as it were, and not spilling those passes on the field. But still very much anyone's game. 6-5. 7-5.
It is 6-5.
Yeah, 6-5. The volunteers scorekeepers changing the board up in front of us, getting us all confused.
Just double checking.
Pantling feathers that one out into open acreage. It's going to be a wait and battle underneath it and just exploiting. Is that a twin connection?
I believe it is. Rupert to Robert. They're just going to have a discussion about where that first point of contact was, and they're going to say it was indeed in the end zone. That is a GB goal. You have to be brave to shoot it when Staff Decliner's patrolling deep, but Robert Pantling showing no fear in going up and putting his name on it to bring it down.
Well, they've been representing Great Britain for quite some time now. Both the Pantling brothers were on that 2023 Padova roster, but of course, I believe it was Rupert not playing in that one. It was one of the two twins anyway. Just having to sit on the sidelines and watch the action, but that's just fantastic. I mean, obviously there's an advantage when you've got siblings on the team together.
Exactly, you've got that telepathy that all twins have. And what I like is that he doesn't go up with one hand there, he goes up with two, and that creates a bigger box for Decliner to have to come around, and he gets it nice and cleanly. I've actually had the chance to see both Pantons in action in the club division. They're kind of taking their first steps at the elite club level, and they were both playing for Chevron Action Flash at London Invite this year. And yeah, hopefully that's a permanent addition, because as they've shown, they've got very bright futures, as do, well, pretty much everyone at the tournament.
Yeah, the twins based up in Warwickshire. Both of them 6'3".
It's not bad.
It does help. DeForce puts that one out. Well, this is a very similar style, but it looks like it might be GB's. Indeed, they just shepherd it away from the intended target. Not sure there was quite the level of freedom there.
No, it felt like the GB defenders always had position.
So now an opportunity to push themselves back in charge. GB riding that upper edge, but that is a whiff for Alfie Hodson.
Got to dust yourself down and go again. Can you find the red zone stand? You'd have to back Belgium with this short field.
Well, DeForce going to pick it up. Sideline's nice and active. Has a freebie. Oh my goodness, that is a really creative throw. You don't see that too often, do you, Benji?
Well, that's Belgian Ultimate of old, where they used to be famed for having the most unorthodox and unusual options in the locker, and it caught a lot of teams off guard when it worked. The problems they had was that sometimes they maybe got ahead of themselves and threw it when it wasn't on, but now, rather than a full dose, it's just a little sprinkling of spice, I think. It's a lot easier to handle. Try to bracket off the front. They think it's not coming, but the upside down whoops over the head into Peter Kenner for the score.
Yeah, not often you see the upside down backhand.
I like it.
I don't hate it. And Peter Kenner getting another on the board for this game. He's a big lad as well. One of the many Brussels athletes coming down and playing for this U20 side.
Yeah, you're thinking about kind of the big ultimate hubs. Obviously, Gent with Gentle have got such a strong youth program there. Of course, Brussels now with Mooncatchers, bringing players through. Looking at Bruges, of course, we were there earlier this year for Tom's Tourney, home of Freeze Bees. Leuven as well with Jet Set, and just trying to, you want it to be a bit more balanced, I think. You can't have just one city pumping it out because it just feels a little bit less sustainable than having it countrywide, and you can, really have that extra depth, I think, across your roster.
Well, it's also nice to see a spread, of course, a healthy amount of Air Badgers, Fulfords, Fluxes, et al., and some Windsor Wolves as well, of course, for GB. As you see, Gil send that into danger. Great read and grab from Morlian.
Stall was ticking up and he felt he had to go with the deep shot, but I think he knew when he released it that there was nowhere near enough elevation.
Well, it does happen. Dumont now on the far sideline. Just keeping it moving. GB having a sniff. Slightly out of position, but they do recover. But it's just going to be a chut to nobody. Trying to hit that break side, but that one was undercooked too.
Aggressive from Belgium. trying to find the breakside space early, using the fact that they've got that difference of angle with the left-hander. But the blade was sold well short and came out particularly blunt.
Gill. Around for Ford. Big wide open arms, but it's Pantling through. Does take Bain eventually. And again, that's a nice find on the far sideline, nice high release. GB still scrambling, losing their footing every so often. Pantling through to Gill. Nice follow-up by Bain, that one's low and flat. Hits Robert in the bread box. GB trying to fire through with their legs, nice catch. And just about escaping from danger, Andrew Bain. Called a goal by some, the little thing about it. But that was nice redemption as well from Ollie East.
I thought if you're a coach of juniors, okay, you do something great, that's fine, reset it. Ollie East cares not for the conservation of greatest. I'll make the layout save. And just a cheeky hammer. Nothing too outrageous, but maybe catching the Belgian defence off guard, sees the breakside space, gets it out of the hands quickly, defenders close, but not close enough.
I mean, that was a really great bit of vision. Grégoire Peterkenner really very, very close to deflecting that one. And a timeout being called, I believe, by the Belgian coaches based on them being a little bit more prepared. Oh no, GB timeout, there we go. So, Coach Carson deciding to take a little bit of a breather here and chat to his team.
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity now. Maybe you try and stack that D-line to get the break back. Give yourself an edge going into the second half. Tied at 7, so this is a Galaxy point, and you've got to use your timeouts. You can't take them with you into the bracket. I have talked at times about, what if you just gave teams a set number of timeouts you could use across the whole tournament? I wonder how that would shake out, but that's not how you play. As it is, you might as well use it here, and I think absolutely you load up this line and see if you can get the break, because it feels like it counts double with GB receiving after the interval.
Well, if you were running the clipboard then for both sides, because of course, you know, you get that 5-minute rest after this one, who would be your must-haves for both sides, Benji?
I think Pierre Andefors has been really powering the Belgian offense. I think you'd have to put him on there. Maybe you want to cross over someone like a De Krane who can maybe give you those bailout options at times with the size and athleticism downfield, and he's another one who can have that live arm to unlock the box. For GB, I think maybe you put both Pantlings on again. We know the Belgians are keen on hucking it, and that can shut down the deep options. Kelsey Sterling's very happy to handle after the turn. Sam Hill as well can be a real Swiss Army knife for you. But both sides, I think, spoiled for choice. So a really nice problem to have as a coach. But maybe they've been listening to me, because I do see both Pantlings out there and Sam Hill.
It's a good choice. I'm not going to question that one. Got Sutherland as well. And of course, Ben Hudson, who's been pretty dogged for this GBD line. So, DeForce thinks about it, sets the sights, doesn't like the look of the underneath, just has that one driving through from Andrian. Just flipping and dishing. This is really nice pace. Peterkenner canning on. DeForce out in the trackies and sleeve despite the sun. Reaching 26 degrees Celsius here today. Nice flat backhand zips. Doesn't like the follow through. Oh, that is a big bit of vision, and they hold on to take half.
Belgium having full faith in their first choice O-line and Galaxy point. We back you for the rest of the game. Why would we change things up here and maybe get ourselves out of rhythm? We know that you can do the job. We've seen DeForce really open the field with his throws. This time it was with his motion and dynamism in the backfield, really driving them downfield, going every other when required. And they didn't force it necessarily outside the end zone, but looked for the width one sideline to the other. Onganet with the score to keep us on serve at the end of the first half. 8-7, the Belgians lead.
Well, this game has had a little bit of everything, some proper layout blocks and intensity from both sides. Love that creativity, although that shot did have to be picture perfect for that final Belgium goal. But we'll be back with the second half, which I'm sure will have many more jewels to give. Second half about to get underway in the Open Division at the Youth European Championships 2025. Great Britain currently 1 under their opponents, Belgium, who took the first breaks in the game, but GB pushed themselves in front, and it's been back and forth ever since. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, on the call alongside Benji Rees.
We were saying during our little halftime break that in some of the other divisions, so if you look at mixed, for example, it feels like there's a clear top 3. And you can maybe decide on the order who you fancy more out of those, but it feels like a lot more stratified. In the Open Division, it feels like there's half of the tournament that could feasibly win a medal. I think there's 7 sides that still potentially could medal, and you could pick any 3 of them. It wouldn't necessarily feel that too out of place. The depth at the top of this division is so good to see, and there will be some very, very good teams coming home empty-handed.
Well, perhaps these 2 in front of us will not be amongst them, of course. We're expecting to see them right at the top of the standings. Pantling, unleashing to brother Robert. Love to see twins on the same teams. Sometimes causes spooks. Kelsey Stollen, a little slip as he brings that one back in bounds. Wide open and free is Pick. Although I wonder if Charlie gets called by a different name on the field, because of course Pick is an infraction.
Yes, it's perhaps a slightly unfortunate surname.
It's just nominative determinism. He was destined to play ultimate.
That will be a minor.
Well, similar vibes. Pantling instead in the centre. All the way across to Dumartin. This is just nice, calm, patient offense from Great Britain, just nibbling their way towards the next point, but that's a foot block.
Fair play. Getting big on the force, not just with the hands, but with the feet as well.
Botequin winning the disc back. And an opportunity for a big break here to put themselves back in front like they did at the opener. Botequin, very intense coverage. Love that footwork from Ollie East. But Stakana coming through on a high stool. Shapely throw around the face mark, but a drop. And GB looked to recover.
East recognised that Declana was hot, so he dropped off and bailed out of the force a little bit to make sure that he could try and just muddy that potential catch for Staff Declana.
Kelsey Stollen just zips that one up line, and unfortunately the hand can't connect for Giel. Dicey one with the breeze at the back. So this for the light upwind break. Delanotte calls the timeout. I'm not sure I like that.
No, you've just had that extended break for half time, and obviously you can't move until the desk is checked in off the timeout, so it's a little bit more difficult to get it in motion. It's not as if it's been a particularly long point. So, yeah, I must admit, it's not what I would have done, but we'll see the wisdom of the decision-making there.
Another look at that big foot block from Paul-Émile Botequin.
Love a foot block. And then Belgium giving the disc back, but GB unable to do much with it on their previous possession. That sinker just agonisingly avoided Giel. Talking about the number of good teams in this division, have a look at some of these games. Italy 12-2 up on Austria, so that one almost done and dusted. Sweden 12-6 over Finland at the moment, so that game close to a finish. France have an 8-5 halftime lead over Czechia, and Germany and Switzerland are locked at loggerheads, 7-7 on Galaxy Point. So certainly there's nothing decided in the other pool. Depending on how those results finally finish, then there is the potential for one of the current top 3, France, Switzerland or Czechia, to lose out on a 3-way tie. France, if they can close out that game over Czechia, would seal the top spot and the bye to semi-finals.
Well, it's an interesting one getting a bye round into the top end of the bracket, because sometimes you think, especially at U20 level, where a lot of these athletes, you know, they're in extremely fine fettle and condition, you know, kind of think, well, actually getting a couple of more reps in can be beneficial. Of course, it's also difficult when you're bringing new players into the fold. And a big happy birthday to Robin Siddons, I believe, if that's if my eyes caught exactly who was in the middle of that chant. The 16-year-old turning 17, hailing from Oxford.
Which musical is that from? 16 going on 17.
That is The Sound of Music. And GB women arriving on our sidelines to provide some extra energy to the lads. I don't know if our field might pick that up, but hi, Judy Jarman. Your son says hello.
Never let it be said that we're not here for the people.
Oh, we're here for the vibes for sure. So GB looking to set up some feisty defense. Delanotte with that first pass through with ease. Dumont. Decana. Delanotte, quick movement. Oh, that's a beautiful break, and it just squeezes over the line. Pantling on the back, but no opportunity to break the glass. And the train goes rolling.
Had to be so accurate with that because Robert Pantling was eyeing it all the way. He felt that was the danger zone, and he was trying to find a way to flash in there. But the Belgian sideline are loving it. Have a look at it here. Tiny little bit of air bounce. Pantling tries to come across, but knows he cannot get there in time. Yeah, a strike delivered there by Staf de Krana. And I think the half-time hurt the GB a little bit because their offense was looking all right, but I think just that extra break, sometimes it just cools you off a little bit, and you can take a couple of points just to get back into the swing and the rhythm of things again.
Well, it's a very familiar feeling for Great Britain, though. They did trail by 2 to start the game off, so find themselves in a similar position in the second half. Should be nothing to completely unsettle the mentality.
Yeah, it is certainly within their reach to have a comeback here. We saw Panamans take an injury sub during the first point. He's now decleated on the sidelines, so not expecting to see him back necessarily. We mentioned that Ben Ascombe has got his arm in his sling for GB. Enrique Abarracin also unavailable as well. Looks like he's got some ice wrapped around his ankle on the treatment table towards our right-hand side. Hopefully that's nothing major, because honestly, it's such a great opportunity to be able to come and play at these events that you feel desperately for anyone who has that taken away through injury.
Indeed, especially when it's been connections that have been ground out over several cycles, which is the true for a big chunk of this GB roster. Hill fires towards the end zone, Hunted underneath it, but it's an interruption because it just lofted too slowly. And they're going to respond straight away. Staf de Krana chasing it down. Allen on the attack, but it cannot prevent it. One pass offense for the Belgians, 3 on the bounce.
An absolute frozen rope of a throw. Sometimes you just have to doff your cap and say fair play. Hill looking for the deep shot one way with the wind slightly fighting against it. It held it up, and 2 Belgian defenders converged to get the block. And once they did, I mean, it was an assassination. Just pick it, grip it, and rip it. Have a look at it again on the replay.
Well, this was the throw from Hill that just lofted it a little bit too softly and made it easy pickings, nearly friendly fire.
And only ever one thing in mind for Edouard Delanotte. Always going to stretch it, and that's not bad coverage from Ben Allen, because he's right on the shoulder. And I think a lot of the times, if you see a player who's got kind of that close attention going deep, you think, maybe I just holster this. Not for the Belgians. All the trust in Staf de Krana, and he answered the call to put Belgium up by 3.
Well, head coach Matt Carson there with the backwards cap and the clipboard. He never looks fluffed. Just providing those sage words of wisdom. GB find themselves with a little bit of a mountain to climb against the team at the top of Pool A. Really showing their fortitude here, but there's plenty of clock left to go.
Yeah, but these are why you come to these tournaments. How well can you deal with these pressure moments?
Kelsey Stollen. East trying to go for the fancy footwork. And so it's Gill that provides and then feeds forward. Back to Pantling. Not too many options with freedom in the deep space for the high stalls, but Gill signalling that there's been a foul call elsewhere.
Kelsey Stollen retrieves his cap.
So contested non-receiving foul. Quick switch and up line for Gill. Then back to Kelsey Stollen. Again, GB just having to bide their time with the resets. Nice inside sliver to Kelsey Stollen. Sits in the upside down grip for a while. They do have plenty of height to exploit if they choose. Pinned on the far side. Nice swish move from the hips of Bain. Perfectly available and open. Now it's Pantling, is going to have to run that one all the way down. A zippy throw from Kelsey Stollen, who now receives, has momentum. Oh, and just to spoil complete blown coverage. Who was matching up against Angus Bain? We don't know, but GB will be happy to take it.
Yeah, before the half, and Kelsey Stollen had that sinker of a pass. He wasn't able to link up with Gill. He had his head down a little bit, but this is what he's all about when he's at his best. He will slice and dice you. A Norwegian nightmare for the Belgians. Just constantly able to find those spaces, stretching them with good recognition, understanding when defenders were dropping off, expecting him to clear out and then bouncing back to the open side. He was an ever-present for GB in that point as they get on the board in the second half.
Well, one of two Glaswegians, as far as at least as far as they'd let them know. There might be some secret ones in the pocket, is Bain. Of course, a proper British team, not just English folks on it.
Could do with a bit more Welsh representation.
That's true, and we will be having the Four Nations.
We will indeed, happening this very weekend. Disappointed that I can't be there in person, but looking forward to catching up with it all afterwards.
That's the thing. It's much like the players, you know. It's a busy summer season for Ultimate fans, but of course the people who really get the benefit of it is the folks watching at home, being able to get multi-device, multi-screen action.
Obviously I'm biased, but Cymru am byth.
Nice high dish. Keeps things flowing and moving, but that's a miss that GB will look to try and capitalise upon. I think we do have a little bit of a sneaky power line. Allen, nice, softly floats it to Siddons. Hill lurking around the back of the mark, but that one is a swing and a miss for Hudson. DeForce getting it moving quickly. Andréan quickly moved, but that's a proper block. Sam Hill slams the door.
Yeah, a poor decision there, I think, because maybe just because of the way the force was, didn't see how close quarters Sam Hill was to the intended target.
Well, a wise athlete with a solid wingspan. Nice cover on the underneath, though. GB going to have to grind it out. Big attack underneath it, and no layout. That looked potentially within the region of Rowan Smith, but instead a goal line possession.
I think if you're expecting it there, then you can lay out, but because he would think was trusting his teammate to come down with the catch, wasn't quite in the momentum.
But a layout goal will do it for Belgium to stay ahead in this one. Nelson Vantunia with the goal.
Yeah, GB beginning to create break opportunities, but they need to start hitting on them. Since that early three-point run, they've been unable to break the Belgian offense, despite their opportunities. And as you mentioned, Van Toyne, in the end, collecting the score. A gentle athlete. Well, that layout was anything but gentle, I think.
Well, at the moment, GB getting opportunities, but squandering them. It's very unfortunate to see. Of course, we don't really care who wins the game. Of course, we're still in pool stages, so plenty left to play for. We just want the best possible ultimate games in front of us.
Yeah, for either of these sides, it's not a quote-unquote must-win game. Although, if you ask any player, every game is a must-win game. But both these sides will be advancing to the brackets. A Belgian win would seal their spot at the top of the pool and the semi-final bye. If they slip up here and GB get one over on them, then it would allow the Italians to leapfrog them for the top spot in the pool on a three-way tie. The nature of the size of the victory for Italy over GB means almost certainly, I think guaranteed at this point, it would be Italy who would come top on a three-way tie. And then it would just be a question between Belgium and GB who would finish on top. And of course, because GB would have the head-to-head, they would finish in second, I think.
Well, last time around at the European youth level, it was a really intense quarter-final bracket too. Especially that universe point finish that GB ground their way against a Swiss team that couldn't actually advance beyond the into the semi-finals due to having some extra help from other rosters. But it's nice to see things still tight at the top and hotly contested. Pantling squeezed on the near side, finds the brother, and across to East. So much pace being put on these throws. East slipping in front. Kelsey Stollen trying to say, please abuse the face mark. But the sibling connection remaining strong. Now it's Giel. Slow down for a pit call. Suspiciously free, Kelsey Stollen.
Hey, that's my line.
Nice structure from GB. A little bit of sagging into the lane from the defense, but just trying to play match, and they will win the one-on-one. Kelsey Stollen with the spike, but a travel call might ring it back.
I must admit, I didn't see a travel, but I also was not looking for it, so I have no opinion one way, no strong feelings one way or the other on the validity of the call. GB, got to pick yourself up and go again.
Giel sends it back to Pantling.
Pick. Spacing of this GB offense maybe could do with cleaning up, because it's stymieing their flow with these pick calls.
Well, the sidelines very happy from the Belgian side of things. Good positive words. GB being squeezed. Now the Canadian Dumartin will dish and then swish away. East, casual toss to Giel. Opportunity is ripe to throw something to perhaps one of the bigger lads on the break side. Little travel, readjust the foot. And Pantling. Softest. And then a racy one for the final bit, but there's no one anywhere near Rupert Pantling, so he's got the easiest job to just watch that fall into his lap.
Yeah, just calling his thrower's name. Hit me, hit me.
Hit me with your rhythm stick.
And James Giel turns Ian Drury, and he provides into the end zone that just a little penknife of a blade into the end zone for the score there to Rupert Pantling. I find the Pantlings very interesting because they're very similar body types, not identical. It feels like Robert's maybe ever so slightly taller, a little bit leaner and lankier, whereas Rupert's ever so slightly stockier. And generally we've been seeing Robert much more as a downfield engine, while Rupert, I think, flexes into the handler space a bit more. but they're certainly both pick your poison type players.
Well, it is interesting because I think they might be non-identical just based on the fact that one's got 6'2" and the other's 6'3".
See, I told you. It's so different. I can't believe you can't tell them apart. I believe that I'm with you. I think they are not identical twins, just fraternal twins.
But either way, of course, it is an interesting one. You know, Rupert is very good with his hands. He's an apprentice carpenter by trade.
Oh, wow.
I wonder if he's got any Instagram presence we can follow to see it's exactly what he crafts, as well as what he crafts on the pitch.
That's one of the skills that I wish I had, along with many, many others.
Well, again, we go back to this pressure defensively that GB were able to apply in the earlier stages of the game, but that's a nice gainer through to Onagar. De Force zips it across to Deslova. Again, loving these inside backhands. Oh, and just putting it out on a silver platter to be gobbled up with great aplomb. That just looked so easy in the end once they got it moving. And Pisano will collect.
Doing a very good job of just working GB sideline to sideline. They were trying to switch to make their job easier, which I like that they're being proactive. They're trying not to let Belgium dictate the tempo and positioning of their defenders. If they've got opportunities to switch and make themselves work smarter, not harder, they're willing to take it. But in the end, stretching it towards the far sideline, Han Pisano, who, without the bucket hat, which he was rocking fabulously at JJUC 3 years ago. It's part of the under-17 portion of the joint juniors, which was EYUC for the U17s and WJUC for the U20s on the grasses of Wrocław. Had a wonderful time there that week, I must say. Kind of the first big world tournament after the pandemic, so there was a lot of, yeah, I'm not going to say worries, but there was certainly a lot of question marks. A lot was up in the air as to how it went, and it felt so good to be back.
Well, this is a really interesting matchup between these two teams. We said there's a decent amount of roster crossover between Padover, but also the World Junior Championships in Birmingham.
There's a lot of crosster.
There is indeed. But it's an interesting mirror image. Of course, it was last time out GB sort of breaking to even things back up and take the first half. And then they just sort of held out their lead with a smattering of extra breaks. And now it seems to be the Belgians doing sort of the opposite. Grinding their way back into the second half. And they're now taking charge.
Yeah, just based on the results from this tournament, you would have had Belgium as the slight favourites, going undefeated in all their games so far. But the margin between these two sides is very, very close. I think that's clear.
And that is exactly what we want to see. Pantling collects that one, pops back to Giel, and then just stays connected like a telecoms. Bain. And then Ford. Angus Bain setting his sights on trying to find something. The stares down Pantling, who provides up line. But some kind of mischief beforehand, and Staff de Kana's not happy about it.
Yeah, Angus, I think as the name might suggest, one of the Glasgow contingent alongside younger brother Andrew.
So back in play. High stall, Kelsey Stollen this time delivering the reset. Nice close out with the body. Giel fakes and then dishes that big backhand break. Nice discipline, but good switching again at the front of the set for the Belgian defenders. And Pantling just lasers it to the back cone, and that will do it for Great Britain, just for the hold, but everyone counts.
Yeah, the thing is, I appreciate you want to start eating at the lead with those breaks, but you can't do it if you can't put the offense in. You have to get them on and off the field as quickly as possible. That's exactly what GB were able to do there, the clean hold. Now, they have turned the Belgian O-line. It's not as if they've not had any opportunity to do so. The issue for them has been converting.
Well, it's an interesting symptom coming out of Great Britain as a programme in general, perhaps, because of course that was the trouble that the women had in their showcase game yesterday against the Austrians. They had a lot of opportunities but just weren't able to clinch the breaks. A couple of maybe last pass syndrome issues, but they've had a lovely break this morning, have the women arriving halfway through this game to add a little bit of extra support to the lads.
Yeah, of course, you can see all the Union flags on the far sideline as well.
But things becoming a little bit quieter in the second stanza. We haven't had too much out of the big cheers because, of course, at the moment, Belgium don't need their parent patrol to really add that extra vim.
And also, as the game gets tighter and tenser towards the end, sometimes you clam up a little bit on the field, and it's natural that it would happen on the sideline as well.
Great snag on the underneath. The hounds of De Slova Artur, of course, one of two. Just nice and simple. Andréan. Moving with freedom now. Honganart exploits the face mark, and that just pops so softly, but it's maybe a little too soft into the end zone. No, held on, excellent box out, and that goal claimed by Vadim Andréan.
Doing what they need to do, the Belgians. They don't need to get any more breaks. As long as they can put their offensive possessions in, they will win this contest. The onus is very much on GB to find something to throttle and stifle what the Belgians are up to. That time, just using the wind to their advantage, sitting it up, high release, and having it carry towards the back of the end zone beyond the GB defender.
So 2 points away from locking this game up are the Belgians, but GB could charge forward. We've seen them do it earlier on in the game. What would be your formula? What would be your medicine for the Great British side, Benji?
I think if you've got anything left at the locker, any zones you are maybe keeping up your sleeve, now is the time to try them, because you lose nothing by rolling the dice, I think. And sometimes it might not even be that the Belgians struggle with it, but just the fact that they're not expecting it, sometimes you can burgle some free turnovers out of them.
Well, let's see what the rhythm of the next Belgian defense will be like. We have seen a little bit of zone from the team in white. But Hill, statuesque. That central position then receives straight back, grinding up line. Of course, took that knock in the warm-up against New Zealand at the U24 level. Nice to see him back doing bits for Great Britain. Nice hands from Giel. That light adjustment. The mark softens up on Sam. Kalshi Stollen. That's going to send, though, all the way to the other side. Nice vision to escape the pressure. Kalshi Stollen up line. Lots of softer matchups being given for freedom in the end zone. That had a lot of flobble and wobble on it, but it makes the mark. Pantling now through to brother Robert, and a quick dish. That is smooth cruising for Great Britain. Now they have to turn their attention to the defense.
It's just that wobble outside of half that really has been the difference between these two sides. It was very balanced in the first, and it just took GB a little while to get going after the resumption. Rupert to Robert, and then finding the option in the back of the end zone for the GB score. At this point, you feel the game's going to go all the way to 15. Still got over 10 minutes left. It's been a game where offenses have largely been on top, which I think is what you would expect, given the lovely conditions here in Trnava. Belgian sideline again, just trying to provide the vibes.
Well, either way, both teams will be glad to get a close match in the last pool game for them as they then face their minds and faces to the latter stages. Of course, at the moment, it does look like Belgium will be taking that top spot out of Pool A and into the bye round.
And see teams on the sidelines, they've been given these misters this week that you fill with water and you can use to spray and cool down your teammates. Not as hot as it has been at times in Trnava. I remember summer tour last year was absolutely roasting, but mid-20s, it's still something that you've got to be conscious of, especially when there's no cloud cover and it is fully exposed to the sun.
De Force, nice yard gainer to Dumont. Then back again. Again, the stack's starting so deep to gain on every one of these underneath. Steslova through. Anganard back to Vanqueli. Forehand force being echoed by the GB sideline. And it's a spilled milk and an opportunity now. Golden for the British boys.
Yeah, with the game rapidly approaching its conclusion, you don't know how many more break chances you will get. You have to convert.
Well, it's a slow walk to the disc for James Gill, allowing his teammates to set up the horizontal stack. It's going to be Allen grinding the underneath to start it. Nice one-handed grab. Breaks around, a little bit dicey. They're looking for Vanqueli. Just patiently waiting at the back. Then find it through to Allen. Dancing away, then Gill underneath. Easily through to Walkington. Well, that one required the spin from Hodson, but that's the spin away. A foul call signalled by Ben Hudson.
Throw's not in the perfect position, went to the inside rather than outside shoulder, and that allowed the opportunity for the bid, but a foul called on the contact.
It is that turn of the shoulder. You can see the hands clapping, of course. Seeing it in motion, difficult to ascertain, but of course the player's in control of the calls here, so if Hudson thought he had it.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he ever had full control, or even if he's calling a strip rather than a foul.
Well, it looks pretty clean on the body contact, so I would imagine it's a strip.
Yeah, without hearing precisely what they're saying, I'm not sure.
You just have to look at the hands and see what they're... Oftentimes you get players reenacting exactly what they thought occurred on the pitch.
Yeah, there's no hand signal for a strip compared to a foul.
I always thought that's a little bit remiss. I mean, some players...
Trust me, I've said this on enough broadcasts over the years.
Some players do the kind of the DIY strip, as you know, signalling the foul and then swiping the arm across.
But I think it's important because, especially in the end zone, they do have different results. Accepted foul is the result. Good for them to have the serious, engaged discussion and come to a resolution.
Well, either way, Hampisano playing exceptionally tight defence. Players from both teams coming and sneaking a look over our shoulder at the broadcast.
I must admit, from the replay, I'm still not sure.
Well,
but
either way, it's a discussion on the field that's what matters, and Hudson will continue the play. Around to Hodson. Allen.
Cool. Travel maybe on the throw?
Perhaps, or maybe a pick, because Allen seems to be reformulating himself. Unsure. Either way, GB will need to hold that nerve, and that's a great throw, but just a bit too dicey. Daniel Sutherland with the full stretch, but has to just walk away.
Yeah, the offense had lacked a little bit of fluency, I think. Not sure it wasn't the intention of the calls to stop GB's flow, but it did find it a little bit tough to get moving again, trying to zip the inside flick through.
It's a lovely shot, but I think, yeah, exactly. Starting that one off back from static is an adventurous choice when you really do need to convert these breaks. De Force through to De Slova. Quick movement. Did have plenty of acreage for Andrian, but they just find the connection with the lateral swing instead. Chopping feet from Peter Kenner. Oh my goodness, well that is a spicy inside shot and easily handled by Hudson.
I think was trying to hope that Hudson wouldn't see it, but he turned around, had his head on a swivel, and was able to put a paw up and knock it away.
Gill through. Oh, big layout, but cannot interrupt Siddons. Then Gill stretches it. Easy pickings, and that is the break for Great Britain. Alfie Hodgson with the goal.
Finally able to make the most of an opportunity. They required a couple. Was an enormous bit in there from Gregor Peterkenner to try and get it back. Wasn't able to do so. And then often when a big bid comes like that, you can feel a little bit flustered. But James Gill had cooked his match up to get free in beyond. And then perfectly weighted, perfectly judged towards the back of the end zone, where Alfie Hodgson makes the catch and brings GB back within one. Is the comeback on? Just over 5 minutes left of game time.
Well, Gill has been playing not quite half of his entire lifetime, but 8 years representing Great Britain numerous times. And of course, big shout out to his favourite side, the PNs. Recent winners of nationals, of course, back on the GB junior scene.
Yeah, largest ever UK junior nationals this year, as I was reliably informed by the UKU youth coordinator, who is one Sam Hill.
So, in the footsteps of his father, of course, CEO of UK Ultimate, Cy Hill.
Yeah, feels like he maybe has a vested interest in the growth of the youth division as someone who, you know, maybe at times found those playing opportunities as a youngster hard.
Well, it's nice to see the inclusion of non-school teams in the schools championships, but when that's a talented squad, of course, difficult when they get shut out of the very top of things. But at the moment, Belgium looking to shut GB out of this game and give themselves a couple of match points. Currently sitting to the better of their opponents, but only by that one goal. This to level things up for GB and make it a trade through. If they can take the disc away from this very mature looking offense right now, they're just finding so many nerves. Andrian, now DeForce. Dekana on the underneath. Just staying connected. That one a little bit feathery, but easy. DeForce looking at that foot just to make sure he stays it in bounds.
Good field awareness.
And back to DeForce, almost looked away at the last and worst moment. Van Quali now. Pressure really starting to mount. Dekana and Pantling having a good show. It's the hammer over the top, and it's interrupted by Rupert Pantling.
It felt like there was a real disconnect between the Belgium handling set and what was going on downfield. Pantling thought about picking it up, but he's going to leave it for Kelsey Stollen.
But he's going to grind straight in for the underneathers, Rupert. Robert going towards the end zone. That is beautifully weighted for the redemption, not the intended target. Andrew Bain will take a break for Great Britain in the latter stages. 13 each now.
Yeah, Bain the younger is the bane of Belgium's existence. The Glaswegian, only 16 years old, put him on the pitch in a big moment. Belgium understandably taking the time out on the back of this 3-0 GB run. We're definitely going to be going to 15 at this point.
Well, and also, Benji, just guess who's turned up off the back of their finished game? It's the Italians, of course. If GB get the win here, it would notch the Italian side to the top of the table and into the bye round. So they're trying to get the GB side and the fans on the far sideline getting more excited and involved in this game.
Yeah, so elsewhere at the tournament, the other game in Pool A have finished. Italy 15-2 over Austria and Sweden 15-7 over Finland. France currently have a 14-11 lead over Czechia. Assuming they close that out, they will seal the top spot in the pool. Germany, though, have a 13-11 lead on Switzerland, and that would throw Switzerland, Czech Republic, and Germany into a three-way tie to try and decide who emerges in those two quarter-final places. Time for me to do some back of the napkin maths.
Well, in front of our eyes, a guaranteed game to 15 at this stage. Now, will it be by 2 for Belgium, or will it go all the way down to Universe Point?
I think whatever happens, Czechia make the top three in that pool because they're on a neutral points difference.
And of course, you can check out all the standings, all the stats, all the results here.
Although, having said that, actually, I think a Universe Point win for Germany, and then it comes down to overall points differential, and maybe the Czechs aren't safe. Not that that matters to these two teams, of course, because they'll face whoever they have to take on in the quarterfinals. You don't get the option to pick your matchups. Belgium can hold out here. They won't even have to play a quarterfinal. GB want to take a big head of steam into the bracket phase of the tournament.
Well, with the Italians trying to charge up the GB support, Belgium parents patrol is starting to get excited too. Well, emphatic stuff. Belgium being broken in the late stages now, looking to hold on. Staff de Kran has Andréan trying to go for the fancy footwork, but chooses de force. Now de Slova, the offhand backhand. Oh, and Staff de Kran shoots to the end zone. GB caught sleeping, and it's going to be Stern Engenard with the goal.
A perfect throw. There is not a huge window down that sideline. You have to get it right. Find enough edge to keep it back in bounds, but not too much edge to tail away. Got it out nice and early into space. Heck of a throw there from Staff de Kran. We told you that even though he's a big downfield option, he can throw it when he wants to, and he delivered it to perfection. It's going to put Belgium in the driver's seat. If GB can hold here, Belgium, of course, could finish the game with a break here. If GB hold, then it would be Belgium receiving on Universe Point. Lovely throw out of the arm of Staff de Kran.
Yeah, Toby Luck caught, not looking. So he's a big lad, but unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, I don't really care who wins this game.
Oh, at this point, cards on the table, I would like GB to score because.
Yeah, Universe. That's what.
Obviously, yes. And then from there, who knows?
It's brilliant to be given such exciting pool stage games. We've not even reached the knockout phases of the EYUC.
But it has that knockout game intensity, doesn't it? I think because Belgium recognised that they could get a bye to semi-finals here, and that's essentially, so this is almost like a quarter-final for them.
It's a slow, stoic walk for James Gill, fanning himself off with the disc a little bit.
Seems like the coolest customer in here.
And two Pantlings start off the flow. Robert on the underneath finds Rupert immediately. I do like that peppermill from the two brothers. Gill, oh, pops that up, you dicey boy. East now. Slices it through. Gill to Pantling. And back this to bring it to Universe. Kelsey Stollen, oh, hand block, but he gets it back with the layout. Kelsey Stollen with the vibe, but then throws it into danger. Delanot shepherds just to make sure.
Yeah, the miscommunication. Firstly, great hand block. Secondly, the focus to make sure you could catch the second effort, but then Just a simple miscommunication gives Belgium the chance to ice it.
Delanot puts it out on a rope with a hope and a prayer. Pantling on the chase, though, will just win the foot race.
Yeah, it was too far, but I think even maybe if it had held up just towards the back of that end zone, Pantling with those long strides, boy, does he cover the ground quickly. GB going to get a second life. Belgium, of course, one of the nations with teams in all 3 divisions here this weekend. And you can bet your bottom euro that they are out here representing in full, trying to roar their compadres onto the win.
Well, full sidelines, of course, it feels like a championship game, even though it's just the pool stages. And again, Gil taking his time to slowly bring it back into play. A little bit of touching. Kelsey Stollen the first to set off, replaced on the underneath by Robert Pantling once again. Kelsey Stollen stretching it deep. It just takes the easy reset to Gil. Now it's Eastie trying to chop and dance in front. Rupert coming through instead. Taking that matchup with Staf de Ghana. Throws it to danger and too much pressure on the back shoulder of Kelsey Stollen. Great defense from Bavo Delanot.
Injury called.
Well, he's going to come off, but that was great intensity.
And they're going to bring on Pierre Jan de Force as a replacement, and I would fully expect him to then go and pick up this stopped disc.
Does that feel a little bit similar to some of the questions asked of the U24's team of substitutions in big moments?
I will say that I think Bavo Delanota was maybe struggling a little bit after the deep shot that he couldn't catch up to. I have no questions.
Only answers right now. Oh, Pantling with the sneak around the shoulder on de Ghana.
Yeah, it was tough as well because it was so tight to the sideline that I'm not sure de Ghana would have been able to necessarily get it in bounds anyway. Volunteer on the sidelines, just going to check the Euro disc to make sure it's straight.
We might get a replacement disc. We do have a bucket of spares, but they're going to play on with it. Gil into Pantling.
Don't need to send it to the Rahel Toshnarova retirement home.
That's a real deep look. Up for Gil.
Look after your discs, people.
Into Kelsey Stollen. All the way across the bridge. And then Hudson. Pantling receives the break. Oh, and immediately launches it. That is some brotherly love to bring us to Universe.
Rupert to Robert brings us to Universe. The finish you feel that this game deserved, Hannah. GB, well, I'm not sure they were quite dead and buried, but it did feel like they were the Undertaker sitting up off the mat when all hope felt like they were lost. They found that late fire. They deserve huge credit for that. And now in a 1-point shootout, it's anybody's game.
Well, I'm pretty sure at least one of those teams has a timeout left in the book.
Yeah, think about how when they played Galaxy Point at the end of the first half, there's the deep shot on the previous point for the Belgians, that Belgium, they just put their first choice O-line out there. They didn't really have any crossovers. But Universe is it's the same as Galaxy Point, right? No, it's so much different, and I would expect to see a hybrid line here for both sides. And it looks like GB are taking a brief timeout here. They want to make sure that they know exactly what the plan is.
Well, I double-checked, Benji. It is indeed GB that had the timeout remaining here. The Belgians already using both of those. And got a little coaching huddle, just chatting through what's going to happen.
If you think back to the first GB offensive point of this second half, that the Belgians decided to call a timeout. You know, it felt quite early on in the point. We'd only just had the half. I'm not sure that they necessarily needed to take that timeout there. It helped them beat that big lead, but maybe they would have got it anyway. And now they're in the position of, do we wish we had still had that timeout left in the locker?
Well, the Italians shirtless largely on the far sideline to just top up their tans here under the afternoon sun. Local time 2:20. But GB, of course, getting the win would see their opponents, the only team to knock them off the pedestals thus far this championship, see them at the top of the standings.
In Open Pool B, Germany have knocked off Switzerland 14-12. I think that means that it's going to be Germany and Czechia going through in that order behind France at the top of the pool, unless, of course, the Czechs can upset the French. Although, actually, I think France have won over against everyone else in the pool, so it wouldn't quite matter anyway. But
well, either way, this one maybe not the most meaningful in terms of the championship format just yet, but these meaningful reps,
I mean,
moments where you can back yourself and give yourself confidence the rest of the games to come.
For Belgium, if they can put this in, they can have a day off. They can get the bye through to the semi-finals, and given the strength of this division, that is something that you really, really want, the extra rest and the free pass.
Katakena, back to DeForce. Just straight up match defense, GB backing themselves to win the better. It's going to be a battle between Dekana and Pantling, and it's Pantling that blocks it away on the second ask.
That is a skyscraper of a matchup. You felt that in the clutch moment, would they revert to type and just have DeForce huck it to his favourite target of Dekana? It was, and credit to the Brits, they were ready for it. But now, take a breath. It's any other point. Just, can you shut all the noise outside and lock in?
Well, Hill to start off the journey towards another win to add to the tally for Great Britain. The squeeze on the sideline, then back to Hill. Lofts it, this time to Robert for the underneath. Sam Hill on the sideline. Some switching off, upfield, nice feet from Kelsey Stollen.
Good find.
Visionary across, back to Pantling. Double coverage, not even a mark for Pantling, but he's going to throw into danger. Very strange indeed, Benji.
I think he was expecting Sam Hill to make a move there, but it never came.
Well, GB now looking to reposition. Dekana bobbles that into his... Oh, but a swipe off. Robert Pantling, the flash in the lane. And another opportunity for GB to take it with a break.
Love that. Not just locked in on your matchup, heads up, seeing the field as a whole. Superb awareness.
Well, Sam Hill rotating through many options and just chucks it on a high stall situation. This for the game. No, it's not. DeForce going up strong with the best read. Spicy.
Had to get something out and tried to back the big man who just got the block, but they couldn't find the bookends.
Well, this is nice battle between these two teams. My goodness, nearly the scrapes off the bottom of the pan for Pantling.
I love it when both sides get multiple shots on Universe.
Back to DeForce and a timeout, but they don't have any left.
I don't think they've got any timeouts left.
I don't think they do. So that's potentially going to add 2 to the stall count. The volunteers will communicate that to them. So what feels like the wise choice is not if you're not keeping tabs.
We did say they took the timeout at the start of the second half. It didn't feel necessary.
I counted, I did. So you add 2 to the stall.
You do indeed.
Either way, all the players in the field getting a little pause of rest with the confusion.
As if this Universe point wasn't quite dramatic enough.
A little bit of everything and the kitchen sink.
I must admit, I am grinning like a Cheshire cat here on the sideline, or whatever the Belgian equivalent is.
DeForce dishes back to Andre. GB pushing the Belgians to make the negative passes. Nice one through, threads the needle. Pisano looking around, just lofts it to Andrian. Then back. De Force working well with De Slova. All quiet upfield. Just allowing the dominator to go to work until the moment is right. Nearly the swish off on the switch. De Force considers his options. Casual dish. Angenat spins around, and that will do it for Belgium. On the third time of asking, Artur De Slova just runs up and puts it in his chest.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat encapsulated right there. Heartbreaking for GB, a couple of chances to break and snatch the victory, but Belgium were able to earn the disc back and finally just grind it down the field and jam it in the jam hole at the front cone for a victory. Instant classic territory here for GB. Say it quietly, sort of academic anyway. They were going to finish third in the pool, but look, you tell these boys out there, even if they knew that, they would tell you, doesn't matter, we are here to win every game. And they came mighty, mighty close. Belgium were pushed all the way, but that's now 2 Universe point victories in the pool for the Belgians. That will give them a huge amount of confidence going into the brackets. Of course, they have that bye through to the semi-finals, so they can get a little bit of rest. In Pool B, it finished Germany 14, Switzerland 12, France 15, Czechia 12. So Pool B sits as France first, Germany second, Czechia third, and that means that your crossover matchups, we have Czechia taking on GB in the next round, and Germany will face up against the Italians.
I'm not sure that's correct, Benji. I mean, at the moment, it's GB going to be standing in third spots in Pool A. A3 are playing against Germany Open by the looks of it. But either way, you can figure out all those standings and how it will all shake out as we go to the championship bracket. Of course,
From a workshop in Bordeaux to Ultimate Fields Worldwide, Force Ultimate creates custom gear with care. Locally made, low impact, built to perform. No outsourcing, no shortcuts, every piece crafted in-house by skilled artisans. Built to withstand every dive and
it was a GB victory at the end of the tournament. So all still to go here under the sun in Trnava, Slovakia for our European Youth Ultimate Championships coverage for 2025. We'll see you for the women's match in the next round.